This is from the first volume of a time travel trilogy, and the trilogy is called Edge to Center. This first book is titled The River Twice. And in this bit, the heroine, Calla Ang, is about 17 years old. She is the president of Jalanesia, I imagine a country that I made up. Unfortunately, her generals started a nuclear war, and she's just learned that they plan to blame her for it and grab all the power for themselves. Trembling, Calla rose to her feet. "Don't let her leave the building," Colonel Se casually commanded. No one else paid attention as she stumbled out the door and into the hall restroom. She bolted the door and leaned over the basin. Sweat dripped cold down her nose and chin, and her stomach heaved sour acid into the back of her throat, but she couldn't vomit. When it was obvious that nothing was coming up, she lowered the lid of the commode so she could sit. Dry-eyed, she gripped her hands together in her lap and struggled to take deep, even breaths, deep down into the bottom of her chest. Calming breaths. She could not fall apart now. The crisis was too dire. She had to think, to figure out how to save herself. For some minutes, different facets of terror flicked through her inner chaos, like a black gem rotating slowly to bring horrible new angles into view. First, it was The Hague. She was going to be on the hook for war crimes, possibly the entire nuclear catastrophe. Not a soul in the world would believe she knew nothing. Not with her own generals railroading her. She might spend years on trial, and then in prison even. And, oh God, to marry one of her generals, there was no way that General So could hold on to power. They would unite together down. She would pass on some catastrophe flag the next winter and the next, while the country would rip apart in their conflict. Serial rape, being suffocated over and over again. Suicide would be fought for all. They would be swine after garbage, too useful to lose. The huge grim effort she probably terrors back. They had the solution. She held herself in rigid calm until her heart slowed and her pulse quieted and her brain began to gear. Calla, the voice outside the murmur, she was so keen up she jumped. The bathroom had a transit off the door, letting the sound in. "You all right in there? Sammy?" She unbolted the door and eased the window crack. "Sammy, thank God it's you. You're in deep shit, girl." Sammy shook his head. "I knew from the start that this presidency thing was too much for you." She threw herself on his uniform chest and buried her head in his slim shoulders so they couldn't see her dry eyes. "Sammy, they were trying for war crimes. Yeah, I heard. Looked like women metal took a while. She longed for a weapon so she could shoot him in the selfish line. And they married General So. Now I got what? That little lizard!" She pressed her hand immediately. "Sammy, I won't marry him, I don't." He clutched her to him. "Yeah, never allowed, not in a million years." "Oh, Sammy, if I marry you, who could stop you? You and the general." "Never do it," Sammy said. "Only if I could be president, he gets to be chief of the armed forces." "Of course," Calla said with enthusiasm. "You'll be perfect. So would he. But we must be married right away. Tell the legs out from General So. Like this morning. Really? You're with it? Well, it's a great idea. It's so hard to be president. It's a brilliant man's job. I see that now. Calla tried to look as non-foolish as possible. I was like, "I marry you. But so let me hear it. You go to the cathedral." "No good. The bishop, that socialist tool, is writing it down. He's going to the dark right now. Be treason, you know. Who cares? He had a priest yesterday writing a book. Colonel Wragsland." "Calla?" The voice outside was a murmur, but she was so keyed up she jumped. The bathroom had a transom above the door, letting the sound in. "You all right in there? Sammy?" She unbolted the door and eased it open a wary crack. "Sammy, oh, thank God it's you." "You're in deep shit, girl." Sammy shook his head. "I knew from the start that this presidency thing was too much for you." She threw herself onto his uniformed chest and buried her head in his slim shoulder so that he couldn't see her dry eyes. "Sammy, they're going to try me for war crimes." "Yeah, I heard. Hope you like the weather in the Netherlands. You're going to be there a while." She longed for a weapon so she could shoot him, the selfish swine. "And they're going to make me marry General So." Now that got him. "What? That little lizard?" She pressed her advantage, weepily. "Sammy, I don't want to marry him. I don't." He clutched her to him. "Dad'll never allow it. Not in a million years." "Oh, Sammy, if I married you, you could put a stop to it, you and the general." "Dad would do it," Sammy said, "but only if I get to be president and he gets to be chief of the armed forces." "Of course," Calla said with enthusiasm. "You would be perfect. So could he. But we must be married right away, to cut the legs out from under General So, like this morning." "Really? You're good with it?" Well, it's a great idea." "It's so hard to be president. It's really a man's job. I see that now." Calla tried to look as young and foolish as possible. "I always kind of liked the idea of marrying you, but So wouldn't hear of it. We could go to the cathedral." "No good. The bishop, that socialist tool, he's frying in hell. If he isn't glowing in the dark right now, you could jail him for treason, you know." "Who cares? He had a priest, a guest, staying there writing a book. Reverend Wragsland was a chaplain at my school. We could get him to marry us." "It looked damn fishy the way you were visiting him so often," Sammy said. "I saw the police logs. And he was the one who gave you the bishop's book, wasn't he? Distributing disruptive literature. We can't just deport him. He'll talk to the Western media. I'd give him a long prison term. Absolutely, Calla said. But first he can tie the knot. Can you sneak me out of this building? Do you have a car? Wouldn't a big cathedral wedding be better? Calla squeezed his hand and jockeyed him gently down the hall to the stairwell. It has to be fast while So is busy, she whispered. A secret elopement. She had to keep him moving before he had time to think it through. Luckily, Sammy was not very bright. And we'll honeymoon someplace where there's no extradition, Sammy said. How about Pyongyang? Oh, Sammy, how thrilling. I've always wanted to meet Kim Jong-un. I already have, Sammy bragged. You'll like him. He's a cool dude. He's been selling us yellow cake. You'd better bring a toothbrush. We can get more clothes for you when we get to North Korea. They climbed up the stairs, past the first landing, but then he halted. You Angs are always so tricky, he said, ruminating. You're a virgin, right? Maybe I should make sure right now that you belong to me. Calla bit back a scream as Sammy shoved her back against the wall. His thick hand thrust into her blouse and groped. In these stupid high heels she had no footing. She did not dare to fight back or even show her disgust and terror. She needed Sammy, and if it came to that final ditch, she would have to not only submit to his rape, but to pretend to be delighted with the violation. But not yet. She might still have this junior rapist's number. We can't get distracted now, Sammy, darling. His crude grip invaded her bra. A quickie in the stairway is not going to make me yours for more than 10 minutes. 2 tops, she amended silently. Ironclad legal marriage, church and state, that's what we want, so that nothing can ever separate us. Right. Okay, you're smart. Bigger brains than boobs in here. He gave the tender nipple a tweak that almost brought tears to her eyes and dragged his hand roughly out. Just don't be too smart, huh? I can't wait until we're married, she said, as enthusiastically as she could. She adjusted her clothing, hiding her fury and humiliation. She wondered if she was tall enough to knee him in the crotch. At the residential level, Calla tiptoed into her suite. Just one bag and be quick, Sammy hissed. Huddled in a corner of the bedroom was her maid. Nana, you have to leave, Calla whispered. Things are going to get bad. Get to your brother's family and hide. The older woman clutched her, trembling. Miss Calla, what about you? I have an idea. Don't worry about me. Here, take this. Calla still kept a stash of money, not in a coin bank in this Jalanesia, but in a decorative brass jar. She dumped a crumpled mass of notes into a handkerchief and tied it together. Now, go quickly. Down the back way. Don't let Sammy see you. They embraced. Calla felt Nana's tears on her neck, but her own eyes were dry. When Nana was gone, Calla kicked off the hateful high heels and stepped into a pair of flat shoes. At the back of the closet, behind the suitcases, was her old high school backpack, its telltale nylon and Velcro construction hidden inside a laundry bag. She pulled it out and hustled back into the hallway and Sammy. Down at ground level, Calla lurked while Sammy sent the guards at one of the side doors away. One to look for some forms, another back upstairs to fetch a forgotten briefcase. When the coast was clear, she hurried past the security desk out into the hot, sunny parking lot reserved for senior officials. Sammy's black official car was blessedly unchauffeured. She crouched down in the well of the back seat, sweating under a raincoat while he drove out the gate, dropping a casual word with the guards and accepting their salutes. Not until he accelerated did she sit up and peer out the rear window. Did anyone see us? Are we being followed? I think we're clear for the moment, but this has to be expedited, Calla. Quick, tie the knot and then on to the airport. I can get us a plane to North Korea. Exactly what I want. I should always have relied on you, Sammy. It was a big mistake to listen to So. See that you listen to me in the future, he growled. Traffic was much less than usual around Grandfather's Triumphal Arch because of the military crisis. The teeming crowds of tourists and vendors were gone. In spite of the light traffic, there were many more cops, but Sammy's official black vehicle had the military license plates and they were waved through. At the Episcopal Palace, Calla directed Sammy around to the service entrance at the back. They parked in the alley, near reeking heaps of uncollected garbage. All kinds of bad elements hang around here, she fretted as they got out. All those beggars. Someone will break into the car if I leave my bag here. Pop the trunk for me, and I can stash it in the back. She fluttered helplessly around the backpack. Sammy hoisted it and scowled at the weight. You were going to pack light, he said. God, you women. I already have equipment in here. He opened the trunk. Oh, wow, Sammy. Wide-eyed, she peered at the gun cases and boxes of ammo. You aren't going to bring those with us on our honeymoon, are you? We're going to need a better bribe for Kim than just some AKs. You might have to promise him some of the... She chose her moment carefully, just as he leaned into the trunk. At the exact right moment, she slammed the lid down hard with all the strength she could muster. The metal edge of the trunk hit the top of his head, protected only by a black felt beret. With a cry, he fell forward onto the gun cases. Calla grabbed the straps of her backpack and hoisted it out again. She set it on the ground at her feet and in the same motion lifted Sammy's feet up and over the rim into the trunk. The car keys were just visible under his knee. She snatched them up. She gave one quick check to be sure no bits of him were sticking out, and then slammed the lid of the trunk down on him before he could sit up. Before she locked the doors, Calla popped open the glove compartment. She was unsurprised to find another gun there, a compact military-issue Glock 38. She tucked it under the flap of her backpack. Between the locked doors and the alley location, it'd probably be a few hours before Sammy was rescued. If he was lucky, not enough time for him to bake to death. She hoped he would use the time to meditate on the cunning of an